Wow, that was great.
The guys did a great job, and I really appreciate that. You know, when I was your age, I would never do that. I was scared to death to be in front of anybody, and so I commend you. That was really a good job. My name's Greg Beeson. I'm from Smyrna, Tennessee, and I appreciate you letting this Tennessee guy come to your church here and to talk about a little bit about what God's doing in Honduras. So, been very blessed my life to be a part of the work that's going on in the mission field. I've been to Russia, I've been to other parts of the world, but my love has been the work in Honduras. And so my earlier days, I worked with a banking outfit and installed bank equipment, ATMs, everything the bank does. I worked on and serviced. Then I was a firefighter for several years. And when I was a firefighter, I was 24 on and 48 off. And so I spent the 48 off sending containers and things to Honduras. Because I'd gone on a trip to Honduras, I saw the need and my heart was there. And so I wanted to help the work that was going on in Honduras. Well, then somebody in our church recognized what I was doing and what the Lord was doing through me and said, hey, how would you like to do this full time? And I said, oh man, that'd be a blessing. So they sponsored me for several years. They sponsored me to work, go back and forth to Honduras, and we started a nonprofit called Ambassadors for Christ. And this is a special nonprofit. It's a nonprofit that's not only recognized in the United States, but more importantly, it's recognized in Honduras. And there is differences because those nonprofits that are set up and then just go somewhere, you can't really own properties there. In Honduras, the churches aren't recognized. So if you buy a piece of property, you can't put the property in someone's name. You have to put it in someone's name that you trust. But if you have an organization like Ambassadors for Christ and it's recognized there, then you can have that, for security, you can have that property put into the name of the organization. Now I say all that because that wasn't the way we started, but that's the way we ended up because of some issues that we had where, Brother Matt, I think you were telling me that you have some properties that some people are trying to maybe take over in some of your mission work where you are, and that you're working on that. Well, we had the same issues. And so to fight that, you have to legally have a legal entity. So that's where we are. We have a lot of our elders are involved in our mission work in Honduras. We have a missions committee. We have actually 11 people that are on the committee or the mission ministry team, elders and deacons and even a couple ladies from other congregations that go on a regular basis. They're on our team. So we have a really good, I feel like a really good group of people that are really interested in what's going on in Honduras. So to give you a little background, the idea of Ambassadors for Christ was the foundation of our ministry and our missions all over is to establish indigenous churches wherever we go and where we are in Honduras. And so we use and find preachers that are indigenous to the area. There's a school there called Baxter Institute. Some of you may have heard of that. It's in Tegucigalpa, Honduras. And that school works on training men to be preachers, and their wives are trained to be teachers, and they go out into their countries, and a lot of them are from South America, Central America, and they all go back to their home countries, and they work in their home countries. So that's where we get some of our preachers from. Also a place called BICA, which is a Bible Institute of Central America. It's another school, and some of our preachers come from there. So it's a very big job to keep up with all the works that's going on when you have 5 or 6 preachers that are working in different areas. Just being a liaison between a church there in Honduras and a church like Three Chop that's supporting Roberto in Choluteca, Honduras. It takes a lot of work, and they know they've started and they've bought property. They're helping the church get going down there, and there's 4 congregations that 2 ministers there are working in Honduras, and to be able to fund them, and then things like life happens, right? And their motorcycle breaks down, or they have a tumor on the back of their neck like Ramberto had, and he needs surgery, but he doesn't have the money to do it. And you know what? I think there was a church right around here somewhere that supplied $2,000 or so to do that, and we really appreciate that, and he really appreciates that. He told me to send his love and to thank you for doing that. It was a big tumor. This team saw it and on his neck, and he had a hard time keeping his neck up. And thankfully, it wasn't cancerous, but they got it out, and the surgery was successful. So those things happen. And but we are there to support them, and Ambassadors for Christ is all about sponsoring our preachers and helping them to get involved in community. Ambassadors for Christ is, I lead a lot of teams that are going down to Honduras. And there's a lot of teams that we go down there and we work in the communities where the preachers are, and we build houses, and we pass out food. We do medical and dental brigades out into these villages. And then in the cities, we go to the hospitals. We go to the old folks home and to the dump and give people that are living there nourishment. And it's a lot of good things. Because, it's not about only spreading the gospel, because we see that in Christ's example, right? He preached the word, but he also met the needs of the people, right? It's so many different stories of Jesus, with his miracles and with feeding the people, and then his blessing for us when he comes back to judge the world. He's going to judge the world on how we treated people, right? In Matthew 25, he talks about that. I'm going to separate the sheep and the goats by how they attended people, by giving them something to drink, giving them something to eat, going to the hospital, giving them shelter. All these things that Jesus talked about is what we do, as well as, and is most important, as preaching the gospel. It goes hand in hand, and it's a well-balanced mission work there, and that we do because the need is so great. And when you're out in the communities, I was talking to a lady at Three Chop Church this morning, and she was talking about a man that was baptized, and he said to her, I never felt the love of somebody other than my family, and to have some people come and get around me and help me through a difficult situation I was going through. And he said, it changed my life. And he was baptized. That happens in Honduras all the time. All the time we have people. We built a house for this poor little old lady. Her house was about to fall down. And we built and I'm talking a 16 by 16 with concrete floor. We put concrete in it. And it's basically like a pole barn, what I keep my horses in. It's the same type of shed, really. 16 by 16, which is all of our houses. But she was so happy to get that because she had cardboard, and Rachel, you saw there was people with plastic and holes in the roof and everything. And so we did that for her. She had been going to the church there for 5 years. And she was Catholic. And she was going to the church for 5 years. And she had never made a decision to be baptized. And after the group left, she went to the preacher and she said to the preacher, you know, I've been cheating God. For 5 years, I've been cheating God. I've been coming here, and she said, and these people were so nice to me. They gave us food. They treated us with medical help, with medicines. They built a house for me. And she said, the love that they had, that's only through Jesus. That's where it came from. It came from Christ, and that's what they told me. She was baptized the next week at the church. And I can tell you stories after stories. We have soldiers sometimes that join us. Sometimes I get soldiers to go with us. Because sometimes mom and dad, if they're going to say, okay, my 15 or 16-year-old child, I'm going to send to Honduras with Greg Beeson. He doesn't look too buff. What's going to happen, you know, with if something happens and there's a lot of thieves and gangs down there, and I'm just afraid. Well, I can tell you for one thing, we don't go into those areas, not on purpose. And we have a good group that's down there, and we've had soldiers. We've never had to have a soldier do anything but help us cross the street, because sometimes you can't cross the street there very easily in Honduras because they don't yield to pedestrians like they do here. So that's what the soldiers for, to block the traffic and let the gringos go, you know? And that's what happens. But even having those soldiers with us, we have baptized in the last few years, we've baptized 3 soldiers. And I talked to one of them and I said, well, what has turned you around? And we had some Bible studies, we talked about it. And he said, I've never seen people that love so much. And they're here in my country. They're doing what I should be doing. Do we ever feel like that? Do you ever feel like it's your country? I need to be doing more to reach out to your local community. Just sang the song, Send the Light. That was a great job. And we are the light to the community. Those are the things that we're supposed to be doing. And so he said, I have never seen people that are about helping others, and they come to my country, they pay their own way, they pay a lot of money. And he said, and I want to be just like them. And I said, well, do you want to be baptized after the study? And he said, yes, but you know what? My biggest fear, and he says, you know what, Greg, I'm going to mess up. And I said, I know you're going to mess up. I said, we all mess up. I said, that's the beauty of what Jesus has done for us. He, through his grace and mercy, through his blood, that is why he's died for us, because he can give us that grace. He knows we're going to make mistakes, but we got to keep on keeping on. We got to keep on doing the good things in life. That really helped him, I think. And so he was so happy to be baptized. And then after that, a couple of days later, there was his other comrade that was baptized as well through his influence. Another story, a North American. She was at a meeting with a friend of mine that's a dentist, and he was going to go to Honduras with me. They were having lunch, and he mentioned, hey, I'm going to Honduras. And she said, oh, that's great. I would like to do something like that. She said, I like to do benevolent work and those kind of things. And he said, well, you should join us. She said, but I'm not into religion. She said, I don't want to have anything to do with your religion. I just want to go and help. And he said, fine, you come. That young lady stayed in the hotel with us every night. This was a few years ago. We went out to the villages. She saw the people. She saw the need. She felt in her heart compelled to help the people, but it turned her around. Same kind of effect that it had on me when I went there the first time. Once I went there, I just wanted to keep going back. I wanted to serve. I wanted to do what God wanted me to do. That's what she wanted to do. She was baptized in the pool the last night we were there. She came from, her husband is a military admiral in the Navy. And believe it or not, I've seen him on Fox News before. He's one of the commentators that they pull in every now to talk. They live in Washington, D.C. She said her apartment looks at the Washington Monument. A year later, she baptized her husband. Isn't that amazing? Some amazing stories through people getting together. One of the beauty of going on a trip like this is the fun that we have together, unless you're sick, right, Rachel? Yeah. But she got over it. Then she was great, you know. Little plane ride, a little bumpy, got her upset a little bit, but she was great. And Hope, good to see you. I just now saw you there. And so Hope and Rachel, they were great, and we got to go around and see people in their homes and get to visit with them. But just being together as brothers and sisters, getting to know each other better, getting to know our staff, the Hondurans, better, just with a different culture, it is different. And trying to figure that out and doing mission work, it takes a lot of things to be involved in things that you're usually not comfortable with as far as in translation. So some people say, so you're fluent in Spanish? And I say, no, I'm not. I wish I was. I'm an old dog and I can't be taught new tricks, you know, and that's kind of the way it is. I said, I can go to the Burger King and say, número uno, por favor, con queso, see? And I can do those kind of things. And people say, well, you don't speak Spanish. I said, no, if you listen to me long enough, I don't really speak English very well either. So that's one of my problems. This is a picture of Tegucigalpa. It's about 2 million people. And we used to say it's about the size of Nashville, but city-wise, as far as it's not as big as the area, but it has 2 million people. And Nashville's not 1 million people. So it's a lot of people crammed in. And when you're there, you can see that. This is our mission statement. I should know our mission statement. Can you read it? The ministry of Ambassadors for Christ is to spread the good news of the gospel as Christ's ambassadors and to establish indigenous churches throughout Honduras. We are therefore Christ's ambassadors as though God were making his appeal through us. And we implore you as Christ, on Christ's behalf, to be reconciled to God. So that is what Ambassadors for Christ is basically about. We do have a nutrition program, a program that feeds malnourished children, and those children come to us from our preachers that are out in different areas of Honduras, and they come to our clinic. We have a medical clinic, a brand new medical clinic, and it's about 16,000 square feet. We have room for a lot of groups that can come up and stay in dorms, and we have a medical facility there, and it's a great place for the groups to get their work done and have a big kitchen where we cook food and everything for people. This is Roberto Mineros. This is the preacher that 3 Chop sponsors, and he comes from a prison ministry. He was in prison for 15 years, and he was arrested for drug trafficking, which if you know Roberto and you meet him, you can see what a humble and kind of a gullible guy he is. And somebody asked him to drive a car. He was involved in transporting vehicles, and they asked him to drive some cars across the border, and of course they had drugs in it, and his story didn't, they didn't care, and he went to jail. So that was before. He had a pretty rough life before that, and but in jail, in prison, a guy named Edilberto from the Baxter Institute was a prison minister. He went in there and he talked with Roberto, and then they did Bible correspondence, and he became a Christian, make a long story short. He baptized, I think, over 40 people in the prison. And then when he got out, of course, he went into the ministry, and he has been a very good preacher because he has seen not only the way his life was before, and then to go and be in a prison to see all those kind of people that have no hope, and then to realize that he has hope through Jesus. It's a beautiful story if you can really get into what he was doing. He and a couple other preachers started a school down in the south called Ibixor, and it's a school of preaching, and they graduate students every year, and it's a big job. They're there every Saturday. So they work during the week, and then he works on Saturday, and they have these classes for all these ladies, young ladies and young men. In the church there's a lot of women in the church, but the men seem to back off and not be leaders. And so they specifically target the young men like these fine guys like here and over here that are young, and they get them from the church, and they help them to be song leaders and preachers and teachers, and that's exactly what they're doing here in this school, is finding those young men when they're a little bit older and teaching them to do that. And it's a great thing. This is Ramberto. I better look at a clock somewhere. I have till what, 8:30? Okay, 6:38. So Ramberto is another preacher that works with, this is the guy that you gave the money for the big tumor that was on his neck. And I don't know if you know anything about his story, about how he became a preacher. So Roberto, the other preacher I just mentioned, was baptizing down at the river, baptizing some people. And they typically do a long baptism, and he preaches a little bit. Ramberto was walking by. He was a preacher of a Church of God in another village, but he didn't have any formal training. He was just a preacher. And so he was walking by, and he heard Roberto preaching, and after he was preaching, he asked him, he said, you know, there's a lot of things that I didn't understand what you were talking about. It doesn't make sense to me. Well, they had a friendship. They got to studying, and they studied, and Ramberto went back to his congregation, and he told the members at the congregation, you know what, I've been teaching you in error. There's some things that I've been telling you that's not quite right. And see, those kind of people in those little villages, a lot of them can't read and they can't write. They trust the preacher 100% of what they're telling them is to be true. And he was honest with them, said these are some things. So they started studying together. A lot of those people came, and now they're at the Church of Christ, and they're all gathered together. Then Ramberto went through the Ibixor school, and he graduated this last year through the Ibixor school. And then he's preaching and helping with 2 of the congregations that are in that area. This is another guy. This is Eduardo Ochoa. He's a really good guy too. He's in a little really hilly area that's in the mountains where the windmills are, the big wind turbines. And he's at our clinic there doing our staff devotional. Eduardo and his wife come from Bica, from Guatemala, Bica. And so he's a really good guy, and he's done a fantastic job there, coming on just a few months ago and baptizing a lot of people, and that church is really growing. They're very energetic and a very good match for that area. This is Lorenzo Gomez. He's another one of our preachers that's in Raytoka, and he's a very isolated area, and we go there quite a bit. He's sponsored by a church in Mountain View, the Mountain View Church of Christ in Buena Vista, Colorado. This is Victor Flores. He's sponsored by the Smyrna Church of Christ. Victor has a radio program that reaches all over the world. And when I was there, Debbie, he had people, on the screen over there, he can see the people that are online listening to the radio program. And there was people from Ukraine that were on there, and people from Russia. And I said, but you're speaking in Spanish. He says, I know it. But he said, they know the language. There's very intelligent people, and just like that, I mean, everybody seems to, pick up a language, and he speaks to them by email all the time, and they use some of his messages to preach with. So it's a very great program. And he's in a small village southeast of Tegucigalpa. That's the building there. That's a building that we built, the Smyrna Church of Christ built years ago. We built a big building, made it because someone had told us, this was when we were first getting into the ministry, that if you build a nice big building, the people will come. Well, that wasn't true. That wasn't true. The people come because the people say, oh, that's a Gringos church, right? They had no skin in the game. And so when something goes out, so now, like what 3 Chop is doing, hey, we're going to help you. We'll build a pavilion. You all figure out what you can do to do some other things and get the church involved. In Ratoka, the church bought their own property, and they're paying for it every month. And then we've gone in there and we've helped just put a roof there so that they can worship together. So we kind of work that together. This is in Asopo where Eduardo is. This is where the lady I was just telling you about, that there was an old lady that came in that was Catholic for 5 years, and she was baptized. This is the church there. This is a church in Ratoka outside the church before we were service. This is Ambassadors for Christ. This is the building that I was talking about. It's just a few blocks from the new U.S. Embassy in Tegucigalpa. And it's a great facility. The money was donated by one lady that was from Cree Fall Church of Christ that gave a lot of money to Healing Hands. I'm very close to Healing Hands and disaster relief. We work together in shipping things down to Honduras all the time. And she gave a lot of money, and that put us on the map. This is our staff at Ambassadors for Christ. And we have our preacher and our medical doctor and our nurses and our dentist and our pharmacist and then our director. So that's some of them there. This is our dental clinic and what it looks like. So this funny story. So we you saw the building, the corner of the building. We're in an area that the government has said, well, you can't have a medical clinic here, and you're a nonprofit. They give us a lot of hard time because North Americans, I think. And they said, you can't have a medical clinic there. You'll never get the permission from the government to have that. And I said, well, that's okay. We'll just keep doing what we're doing. We're not really open to the public. We just have people from our nutrition program. Oh, well, you can't have anybody outside from these outer villages standing in line. Okay, that's fine. We'll bring them inside. Well, what's interesting is that's what the government is telling us. And the neighbors around me, believe it or not, right behind our building is an ex-president of Honduras. And Victor Flores, no, I'm sorry. His name is Flores. I forgot his first name. And his wife is North American from Dixon, Tennessee. And I've met her several times with another project we were doing long ago. But he comes around and he says, man, what you all are doing in this community is fantastic. And he said, we applaud you. If you have any trouble, you come talk to me. And he said, I will help you. Well, not long after that, they came and did an inspection of our building. And when they came in and they looked and saw our dental clinic and saw those things, oh, this is beautiful. This is so great. You've got to have a permit because you'll be denying people in this area of good care. And they said, you'll have it. And then with a month, we had it. And my attorney said, Greg, I don't know how that happened because you're in a zone that's not zoned for a medical clinic, and they hold to that pretty fast and true. But anyway, we did. Again, God working in mysterious ways, God's hand in all of the things that are done there. So this is a house that we normally build. This is a 16 by 16 house, and you can see it's a lap board with the little windows that you crank out, and this is our team, and it was a little muddy that day, but it was really good. So here we are in the kitchen. We have a big kitchen there, and we're making putting things together. I think for the old folks' home there. This is a lady at the house where we would go and deliver food. Hope and Rachel and all of us went to people's individual homes. We got to meet them. We got to see in their homes. We got to talk to them. They shared a little bit about their life of how things are working. And you know, what's interesting is a lot of the people, you look at them and you think, how in the world are they surviving when you go into these houses? And I know what it is because I've talked to enough people. It's people in the U.S. already. They're wiring money back to them. If they didn't have that money, they wouldn't be surviving. So many people on the streets right now in Tegucigalpa, so many people from South America, from Venezuela, from Nicaragua. All of these people are fleeing their homes. And they're not just fleeing because of the corruption and the government and not having, but they're afraid. They're afraid. They arrested the high priest in Nicaragua for preaching. Well, that's not right. That's the Latin way. I mean, we have free will to preach. In fact, what we love about Honduras is we can go there and we can go up to a school in a village and they'll close the school for the day and we can go in and teach vacation Bible school all day long. And they don't have a problem with it. Our country does. You know, we couldn't do that. But that's an amazing thing. They are a Christian, or mostly Catholic, but they have that thing, you know, they love God and they have a faith in God. And then we're there to try to change some of the ways they think. This is some food that we go out. This is what food bags look like when you get ready to go out and take them places. This is a man out in he was working out in the field, and it's my daughter there on the left in the pink and her friend. And these are some of the areas where we take food. This is the medical part. This is Dr. Frank and a couple nurses, and we're visiting with the people there and trying to help them. More of the dental. And there's Kim, and I think that's Hope right there, right? Yeah, Hope. I'm looking at the little screen here. So Hope, and we're making hot dogs for the hospital. We're going in with 1,500 hot dogs to the people because they don't get a lot of food. If you're in the hospital, a lot of times they don't feed the people, and especially they don't feed their family, and they come from long distances out in the villages, and they come to the hospital, and they are so grateful to get those, the hot dog and some water that we pass out. And it's a great ministry. We're able to pray with them. We have an address and a phone number wrapped up in the hot dog where they can come to us, and believe it or not, they show up at our door. A lot of times people show up at our door. You'd be amazed at the people that show up at our door looking for additional help or looking for a church. You know, do you have a church here? And no, but we have a church down the street, and we point them to the right direction, try to help everybody. This is in the dump. There's people there that are working with trying to get different things. They're collecting metal and plastic and paper and things that they can recycle. And this is a rough way to live your life. And a lot of the people are there. A lot of them are on drugs. They sniff glue. As they're out there working, you can see it's called Resistol. It's a glue can, and they have it behind their shirt, and you'll see them take a sniff of it every now and then because it's just a tough environment, and they stay in a rough way. But believe it or not, and I used to tell people, this is just okay, today we're just doing a benevolent work because I don't know how we're going to ever reach these people. But there's a church about a mile from there, and they started going into that area, and they started having devotionals. We rolled up one day to give out food, and they were having a devotional out there. And the people didn't even break from the devotional. They kept having their devotional while we passed out food. And they were still collecting their things. And I've heard that they had baptized some of those people So I'm telling you, the harvest is many, you know, when that's one of our doctors. This is the kids in our nutrition program. There you have Rachel. She's teaching some VBS there with all the children, and it's quite a chore. But they're very active. They love the interaction, and they really participate. And the children are where it's at, you know. This is Stacy, one of our staff daughter that was joining us on a trip, and I got the privilege of baptizing her. And Brother Bob Evans, he's from Virginia here, and he is a veterinarian, and he was there in the picture. So these are some of the things that we're doing, working out in different areas of the of Honduras. And so what I said before about people that are looking for something in their life. So not long ago, I brought back a wooden train. This wooden train that I bought in the Valley of the Angels. It's a place where you can go and buy knickknacks and stuff, you know, souvenirs. And I bought this nice little train. It's all hooked together because my little grandson, 2 years old at the time, he loves trains. And I brought it home to him, and I said, Rowan, look, Popo got you a train. And he said, oh, and he got it down on the floor, and he started rolling it around. And he turned around, and he looked up at me, and he said, Popo, where's the track? And I thought, you little stinker. Here I bought you this nice little train, and you want to know where the track is, you know. But, you know, even a 2-year-old realizes that a train needs a track. We all need direction in our life, right? Everybody needs direction. The train gets its direction from the track. We get our direction from Christ. And all the things that we do, we look to Him, and you know, Jesus says, I am the way, I am the truth, and I am the life. And no one comes to me but by nobody comes to me through the Father. Right? Yeah. Sorry. And so I think about that all the time, because I think about all these people that in the world today that we're living in. Seems like people are looking for something. The world is upside down, right? It's upside down. South Americans are trying to come here. They're searching for something else in their life. They need some relief. And I know for a fact that when people get here, they're not just getting here for a job and for food, but they're looking for freedom of religion and freedom to be able to do what they want to do as far as serving God. And that is so true with the people that I see every day and what's going on in our culture. People are trying to figure out which way do I go and what track do I need to be on. We are the light. We are the salt. All of us have an opportunity to see people like this, either in Honduras or here in our own community, that we can reach out to people and to be able to show them the love of Christ. Jesus has done everything for us, and He's only asked a little thing of us, really. It's not always that simple, but to stay true to Him, to have our faith and our hope in Him, that, you know, a lot of people are so worried. They're so worried about what's going on. But, you know, my wife tells me all the time, you know, this is not our home. Why should we worry? This is not our home. There's nothing we can do about what's going on but being the light and the salt. Keep doing what we're doing to be faithful to God, and then it'll all work out, because God will never let us down as a Christian. So, thank you for allowing me to come. It's been a pleasure to be here. We always need, if you're looking for a place to have some support to help, we're always looking for someone to help with our preachers or to help our kids in our nutrition program. Just keep that in mind. But it would be great if any of you would like to go to Honduras, Three Chop's going to be going on a regular basis, and hopefully Rachel and Hope and some others, you can find some other people and maybe you can join them, because you will be blessed. You will be blessed. As you bless the people there, you will be blessed and enriched. Thank you. God bless you.